Hello, my name is Kayleen Reusser. Over the past 30 years, I've written thousands of newspaper and magazine stories, as well as 21 books on military subjects and for children. Some of my stories have appeared in Chicken Soup books. Today I'm going to offer you some writing tips based on a story that I published in this book, Chicken Soup for the Coffee Lover's Soul. I believe that writing is a talent that we should hone to benefit other people. I'll read my story, A Lesson in Forgiveness, aloud, and you can read along. And afterwards, we'll go through and look at some of the points about it that have made it a compelling story. Let's get started. A Lesson in Forgiveness. It was snowing as I finished unbuckling my baby from her car seat. A toot from behind reminded me I was holding up traffic on the one-way street. I didn't care. My 6-month-old had to get an immunization shot, which meant she would be up all night with a fever. My head ached like I was coming down with the flu, and my husband's job didn't look steady for the holidays. I wasn't in a good mood. The truck tooted its horn again. When I finally had my little one in my arms and covered from the cold, I looked up and felt my heart sink. I had parked in a delivery zone. A look at the name printed on the truck confirmed I was parked in its delivery zone. Angry at myself for not noticing the sign sooner, I put my baby back into the car and looked down the street. The nearest empty place was more than a block away. Gritting my teeth, I was tempted to go home and reschedule the appointment for another day when things were going better. But I didn't. After managing to park in a tight spot, I again got ready to get out of my car. Glancing up, I saw someone waiting for me outside. It was the truck driver. Bracing myself for a verbal attack, I slowly emerged from the car. "Sorry about that back there." A strong note of apology rang in the man's voice. I looked at him suspiciously. He was grinning. "I saw you had a baby," he continued, "but there wasn't any other place big enough for me to park in." Completely taken aback by his friendly manner, I stammered my own apology, though like Scrooge, I wondered if it was a setup. "I'd like to give you this." The stranger held out a coffee mug with his company's name on the side. He didn't wait for my reply, but shouted, "Merry Christmas!" before sprinting away as fast as he dared on the slick pavement. Mug in hand, I stared after him. As the snow continued to fall steadily around me, a warm feeling spread throughout my body. I smiled for the first time all day. At home, that coffee mug serves as a constant reminder to me of the way that truck driver showed unexpected kindness and forgiveness to me. As I drink from it, it also reminds me of the way God forgives each of us when we least deserve it. Using the coffee mug each morning as I begin my day inspires me to work on showing that same kindness and forgiveness to everyone I meet: clerks, cashiers, complete strangers, not just at Christmas, but every day of the year. Writing tip number 1. Write about an important event in your life. Draw on your emotions. When I was starting out as a writer, I couldn't think of anything to write about. Everything just seemed like too big of a project. But a friend suggested that I write about something that had evoked a strong emotion in me, such as fear or happiness or sadness. Well, that triggered this memory of this event with this truck driver that had happened 2 years earlier. Just in a few minutes, my emotions had changed from grumpy to happy. And if I was still thinking about that incident 2 years later, maybe it was a story that would be of interest to other people. Maybe you've ridden on a runaway horse. That would be an interesting story about fear. How did you handle the shocking news that you had lost your job? Put those thoughts on paper. They'll help your reader identify with you. Writing tip number 2. Write about a problem that readers can identify with. People like to read about issues that they struggle with. In this case, the theme was forgiveness. I even put the word in the title, A Lesson in Forgiveness, so the reader would know what the story was about. Who doesn't struggle with forgiveness? People of all ages, men, women, children, find forgiveness challenging, and they're all looking for answers on how to deal with it in their lives. Editors, I think, have liked this simple story because in just 500 words, their readers are presented with a dilemma and then a possible solution for challenges in their own lives. Writing tip number 3, stay focused. Refrain from inserting unnecessary details. The entire incident from the time I parked my car until the truck driver gave me the mug took less than 10 minutes. For such a brief encounter, it would have been distracting for me to spend several pages telling what we had had for dinner the night before or how difficult it had been to find a babysitter for my other children. Instead, I opened the story with a few sentences describing how upset I was, feeling achy with cold symptoms, worry over my husband's possible layoff, depression of knowing my baby would keep me up all night. Every reader could identify with at least one of those situations. Writing tip number 4, make your story evergreen. Exclude details that will date it. I'll let you in on a little secret. The story that you've just heard about is 30 years old. Now, if you didn't already know that this story was written 30 years ago, would you have had any clue to its age? No, because I purposely left out any details that would cause people to know it was written long ago, such as the make and model of the car, use of what we used to call a car phone, and other clues. Now, if you're writing for a magazine, like Reminisce or Good Old Days, it's fine to include specific details of an era. But I wanted to keep this story blessing people for a long time, so I chose to leave those out, and it's served me in good stead. Writing tip number 5, make daily writing a habit. Writing is just like anything else. If you want to get good at it, you'll spend time practicing. It isn't easy because I was a working mom with 3 kids. I often had to get up early in the morning before everybody else was up to find time. 15 minutes sometimes was all I could afford. A lot of times I worked at my lunch hour, sometimes in the evenings, but eventually I was able to get some stories published, and it just took off from there. Now, I do have a website with other stories, primarily military. If you're interested in contacting me there, you can do so. It's KayleenReusser.com. But I will list another resource that's available if you're interested in writing. It's called the Bluffton Christian Writing Club. We are meeting via Google Hangouts at this time, and you can contact me for more information at KayleenReusser@gmail.com. Remember, writing is a talent that takes time to develop. In the end, when you've written the best story that you can do, every piece will be put together like a puzzle to make a beautiful picture. I wish you the best in your writing adventures.